Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of this summer podcast series. Give me a moment here. And that is a sip of Gallagher's 50/50 iced tea lemonade. What a delicious summer beverage. I really like it a lot. I think I'll have another sip. All right. Well, praise God. Trainer Matt coming at you from TTJ Tech Services at www.ttjtech.biz. We're continuing in this series with a few updates since the initial recording and also a review of the Xfinity Doorbell, which leads us to have to talk about all of the Xfinity products and services as far as I'm concerned, but we'll try to do that briefly. Let me start out to just kind of recap a few little things that I was discussing with you before. In case you were wondering, I've mentioned a lot of businesses here that are either in our area or some of them are chain businesses and others are locally owned, but I really feel like they deserve credit by name, and I did mention a lot of them by name, but I'm also going to let you know that if you are a subscriber to our TTJ Tech newsletter, that we're going to put a list of those together for you so that we can give proper credit to them, so you can see their names if you're interested in them, and if you're ever in the area, you try them out. And we are offering a travel package, which we began offering last year in time for the Christmas holiday shopping season, but it's available now as well, and you can come to our area. It is such a beautiful, beautiful area. If you are looking for a vacation and you want someplace to go that has a very, very nice family-friendly atmosphere, a quaint feel, but a lot of fun and very, very historical, a lot of, nice activities and so forth, we really encourage you to check out our area, and TTJ has packages for that. And of course, we also highly recommend Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, which is where we've gone to the beach, and I talked to you about that. So I wanted to let you know that. Stay subscribed. If you've not subscribed, go to ttjtech.biz and click the subscribe button so that you can get subscribed to our newsletter and in time to see that, and that you won't miss anything else as well. One of the things that I had talked about in that first podcast was my daughter really liking rolled ice cream, and I felt that I didn't give it a thorough description as much as I could have, and part of that is because even though it's been explained to me, I'm not seeing it, and I'm just focusing on how good it tastes and not really thinking about the process. But I will tell you that it is a place called Sweet Charlie's that is on the boardwalk or right near the boardwalk that we go to for the rolled ice cream. And I've looked up sort of the process of this, and what I've found here may or may not be an exact match for how Sweet Charlie's does it. So I apologize if that is incorrect, because this is, I will preface it by saying, not from their website. However, what it says here is a liquid mixture is stirred constantly to incorporate air spaces on an ice pan and simultaneously cooled to negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit in a motion somewhat resembling stir-frying. The complete rolling process results in rolls of smooth, semi-solid ice cream or gelato. And what they have is they have a thing called a base. And the base is an initial flavor, or, you can have like a chocolate one that was like the one that I had that was like brownie and so forth. Or you can have a base of, I think there was like a cookie dough. There were a whole bunch of different bases. So you pick one base and then I think up to 3 toppings. And that's where I had like brownie bites. I had blueberries. I had marshmallow one time, and I think it was strawberry the other time, or some strawberries. So you can have your marshmallows toasted or not. It's a quite a neat process, and I would really encourage anybody to try that out if you're ever in the Rehoboth Beach area. There are other Sweet Charlie's locations as well, but that's a very neat process that I wanted to revisit at least a little bit, just to give you some clarity on what it is and how to order it. So you'll order a base, and you will order the toppings, right? And so that's what you'll be prepared to ask about. If you have, you can look on the website, or if you have, a sighted family or friends with you, you can ask them, well, what are the bases, and then what are the the toppings, so right away to how to be prepared to initiate that order. So it's quite exciting and fun, and we actually got that twice while we were there, because my daughter wanted it more than once. So that was the thing about that. Now, I just wanted to revisit that because we had talked about it a little bit. I've covered most of, as I'm thinking back and listening back to the podcast, I really think I covered most of the big things there. Obviously, as I said, lots of things that just, maybe I've glossed over, that I didn't give as many details about as I could have, but things that are a lot of fun and a nice, relaxing, and very, very blessed summer. We had gone to I mentioned the Union Hotel, which has the trivia. We had gone there for our anniversary this summer as well, and had lunch there one day. There's also a restaurant we went to that I did not mention called Horn o' Plenty. We went there another day. It's like a farm-to-table restaurant, and it's very good food. But the real attraction for my daughter is she wanted to take our puppy with us to eat, and they allow that in their outside eating area. So we brought our dog that day, and she got to eat a little bit while we were eating, and that was a really neat experience. They brought her some things, and that was a lot of fun. So, and I believe I mentioned the Igloo, our ice cream place nearby. We've had lots of these sort of, just, there's random, we picked up my cousin one day and took her with us to a few places. We had to run some things up to the fair in preparation for the fair. Our kids entered artwork into the fair, and so we usually enter flowers too, and they placed with a lot of things. They did very well. So in the process of running that up, we stopped for Italian ice at a local candy shop that also has a Rita's Italian ice in it as part of it. And so we enjoyed that, followed by some pizza. So lots of these, sort of things. But there's always stories to go with these things. And, whether you question when you're sharing these experiences how much to get into with those whole things, just for the sake of time. But, the anecdote that went with that was our cousin. As I said, we picked her up. Now, that would be Megan and Adam's daughter, their youngest child, and she's, I think she is 7, and she came with us because her parents, Megan and Adam, were helping to run a local golf tournament, which was a fundraiser, and Georgie had been sitting at this golf tournament and really just was bored by this point, and she wanted to be picked up. She wanted to come over. She had actually called my wife's mom, who she refers to as Nana, and she thought that she'd go over to Nana's, but Nana was busy and said, "I'll come in a while." Well, it wasn't quick enough for Georgie, so she quickly called my wife and said, "Look, Nana is not coming quick enough. I want you to come and get me." And so she came over and played, and then, we had these errands to run, so she came along with us. So that was a fun day, and the Italian ice was great, and the pizza was great. We had, I had the cherry Italian ice, and it's always a fun thing. A nice hot summer day. We've had a lot of really nice hot summer days. The weather this summer has been just absolutely fabulous. We've had a lot of sunshine. We've had a lot of nice warm days. The very beginning of the summer started out being, back up even the end of May, was consistently in the upper 70s to lower 80s, which is where the weather often is at that time of year. And then it really elevated, and as I mentioned, the week that we were in Hershey Park, it was in the 90s, upper 90s even some days. And we had a lot of that. When we were at the beach, we had 90s, low 90s, but still. And we had 90s throughout a good portion of July off and on. And then just here in the beginning of August, we've had a little bit of a drop now to where the next several days in the forecast don't quite get above 80. Most of them upper 70s. Might be a day or two where it reaches 80, but most of you see it in the forecast 77, 78, 79, and very nice. But we've had a lot of rain in the past couple of days thanks to Tropical Storm Debbie, I guess it is, at the time of this recording. But not anything dangerous, not anything problematic, praise God. Didn't have any flooding or anything they were concerned we might. But it didn't really, we're not really in an area that is affected by that anyway, and of course, praise God for his protection no matter what, but I know that, there were some areas that were concerned about it, but we didn't really see much of that, or any of that, really. But it's been very nice, and it's been, great weather throughout the summer. The other little anecdote that I wanted to tell you a little more about the National Air and Space Museum, just in case anybody's curious, because I glossed over that pretty quickly. The National Air and Space Museum that we went to is part of the Smithsonian Institution, and it's there are actually two, and I think you got this from my very quick overview of that. There are actually two air and space museums that are part of the Smithsonian. Okay. So the Smithsonian has the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. That's right in D.C., along with all the other Smithsonian museums, right? Natural history, American history. There's a lot of museums there. There's the Holocaust Museum. There's many, many museums in D.C., of course. And the Air and Space Museum is right there with them. But then there is, and my kids have been to that one. But my wife and I had occasion years ago to go to the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center. I believe F is the middle initial. I apologize if I got that wrong. And I will actually look. But it is a second National Air and Space Museum, and it's located in Chantilly, Virginia. And it's an airplane hangar. It's a converted airplane hangar that's now been converted into a museum, and it's got multiple floors. And we really enjoyed all of the things that we saw. I mentioned some of them. The space shuttle, they have the Blackbird that I mentioned, SR-70, whatever that is, 76. They have a Boeing 707, one of the original, one of the very early commercial aircraft, really, to take passengers. Let me rephrase that. Commercial jet liners. There were aircraft taking passengers considerably long before that, but that was one of the first really commercially successful jet liners. That you had, I guess, the de Havilland Comet before that, and a couple other things, but 707 is one of the really early ones, kind of where a lot of it started. And so they had that, and then they also had different stations where you could learn about things. You could learn about black holes in one of them, and they had sort of demonstrations of things they showed you. You could learn about the Apollo 11 moon landing, which, was really neat to hear all of that, and they talked through. And then they had an IMAX theater, which we did not get to just because of time, but it's another really nice, a nice one that they had. And there's different shows throughout the day, I suppose, in that IMAX theater. And and I did double check. It is the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center. So anyhow, IMAX theater. They also have an observatory. You can go up in an elevator to a very high level, and you can see airplanes, and it's like, kind of control tower situation, right? You can actually see airplanes that are taking off, that are coming in for a landing, most of them from the Dulles International Airport, which is very close to the Udvar-Hazy Center. And not only can you see them, but they have stations where you can listen to the audio of the communications with air traffic control. And so you could hear an airplane, being cleared to land or being cleared to descend, being handed over to, the approach controller and all of these things. And you can see it happening with your own eyes as well through this observatory. And that's really exciting. And everybody enjoyed that. And so, and then they have I think, 3 different simulations One of them is more of a like a shooting game, but you're, like a VR kind of thing, and the other two are simulators. My kids really enjoyed those. And I mentioned, of course, there's a Shake Shack in there where we had lunch, and we had dinner at the Melting Pot, which is maybe about 10 minutes away from the Udvar Hazy Center. In the Udvar Hazy Center, there was there are opportunities to get pretty close to these aircraft too, and you get to walk right under the space shuttle even. And so that is a very good place to go. There's a lot of you can get audio described tours. You can actually get a tour guide, but I don't know if there's a cost if you do any of those things. The audio described, I'm sure, would not be, because that would be an accessibility thing. But I don't know if you can. Perhaps the tour guide may also be free. The overall admission to all of these, any Smithsonian museum, they are free. There is a fee to park, and there's a fee to do certain activities, like I think the IMAX theater might have a cost, or the simulators might have had a cost, and of course eating at the Shake Shack and things of that nature. But basically getting into this place, it's a really, really good value. And so I wanted to give you a little more information about that in case you're interested in ever visiting it. It's the Stephen F. Udvar Hazy Center in Chantilly, Virginia, as part of the Smithsonian museums. Again, it is an air and space museum, of which there are two that are part of the Smithsonian. So that's a little bit more of a detailed overview of that for you, just to help you to get an understanding of what that was all about. Now, we did have my daughter's birthday party, and she had a great time, and everything was excellent there, praise God. And we had her movie theme and the movie food that she wanted, and she dressed up, and it was just adorable, and got lots of presents, and just a good time together and everything. And the cake pops turned out very well. She wanted cake pops. That was her thing. She really likes Starbucks cake pops. She wanted to make cake pops this year, chocolate and strawberry, and we did that. Then I think I don't know how much I told you about when we were in Harrisburg. I told you most recently we did different, shopping and so forth. But we also went to Color Me Mine. If I already mentioned that, I apologize. But Color Me Mine is a place where you can pick out perhaps, sometimes some people pick out a dish or a mug or an animal or something, a dog or whatever it is, and it's like then you color and you paint on it and do all these things, and they fire it in a kiln, and you get to keep it. And there are ones where you can like blow paint as if it's like bubbles through a straw to paint on there, and it's just really cool. There's so many different designs, and so the girls did that. Now, we did that before as a family, my wife, my son, my daughter, and myself, and this time the girls did it while Carson and I went over to Guitar Center for a while and looked around at different things there. So I might try to get my daughter to come on an episode here and tell you a little more about Color Me Mind. It's really neat. She made a dog that looks very similar to our actual dog, and it's really, really cute. And we've already received it now. Usually you have to wait a few days to a week or so till they heat it for you and get it all processed. But that time has since passed, and so we do have it now. All right, I want to get to talking about the doorbell, and I want to give you a review of this and of some of the other Xfinity products. So for starters, why has it been such an ordeal for us to get a doorbell? I'm sure there are people who are wondering that. And the short answer is because we did not have doorbell wiring. Now, just to give you a little more of a background on that, we did years ago have doorbell wiring. This house was built in the late 1970s, and of course there was a traditional doorbell. However, over time, I think that wiring has gone bad in places. It's not a safety concern because it's all low voltage wiring. And besides, it's not even in use anymore, which I'll get to. But we had torn out our old doorbell at one point and decided we weren't going to mess with it. We were just going to use a wireless doorbell because that seemed to be the trend at that time. But after having gone through several wireless video doorbells, I just wasn't satisfied with them because they always seemed to have latency and connectivity issues. And of course, then there's also that fact that you have to charge the battery periodically. And you always had to make a decision then, and there was a trade-off, right? If you wanted a lot of recording, you didn't get a lot of battery life, right? Or vice versa. And so finding that balance and all this and then there really was an issue at times of the connectivity, which also may have been because we're just at the border of how far you should be from our Wi-Fi. And when I decided to look at the Xfinity one, what attracted me to that is we already have an Xfinity camera. I'll review that too. And it works perfectly. I never have connectivity issues. And I assume that that's because they are able, since it's an Xfinity camera and an Xfinity gateway or router, that they're able to use a private channel. They're able to use sort of a back end, network of sorts. And it's dedicated to that purpose. And so I thought, well, and that's even further away, I think. And I said, so the doorbell ought to work just as well. Well, of course, it has to be wired. So we had to go to a wired doorbell setup. And it is really worthwhile. I finally said, let's get it done, because honestly, then, even if I would ever, which I have no intention of doing, praise God, I like Xfinity, but even if I would ever use a different doorbell, at least I'd have a lot more options now because we have a wired installation. So we needed to get that done. We have all new doorbell wiring, new transformer wired to the breaker where it's supposed to be, and then the chime box we have with the Xfinity chime kit. It is a digital chime box. It's not mechanical. It's digital. So it has, 30 or 50 different tones that you can choose from. And then, of course, the doorbell itself, which is the Xfinity doorbell, and it is a camera. Now, this uses, as I mentioned, your existing chime. So you can pick from whatever chimes you have in your home. It also has a sound that plays outside on the Xfinity doorbell when you push the button. And it makes a ringing doorbell sound on your iPhone with the Xfinity app. And you can open that app up, and you can, of course, talk to the people, and they can talk to you, and you can, if you can see the people as well. Now, in addition to that, this doorbell, just like the Xfinity camera, has 24/7 video recording. That is quite unique. You don't see that with a lot of products. Most of them, it's just clip recording. This has a 24-hour recording. And I don't know, I think maybe the recordings are stored for 30 days, but it may not be quite that. I don't even know. And it does have a timeline as well, and it will identify events as people, as vehicles, as pets, as packages, all kinds of different motion events. And you can get notifications either for just people or for all motion events. So you can get alerts not only for the doorbell ring, but also the motion. And of course, it's got night vision, and you have, as I said, the two-way talk. You can also link a lock, so it's easy to then immediately unlock the door for someone if you so choose. And so you can have up to 6 cameras or doorbells, any combination of them, on your account for $10 a month. And it is their Xfinity self-protection service. And it also works with these door locks, and you can link other things in it, like your thermostat, and if you have like Philips Hue lights and things of that nature. So what I'll do is I'll actually take a look at the app here, just so you can hear very quickly just a little bit of this. Let's go back to the let's see. Xfinity is on this page.
Xfinity. Double tapped. Xfinity. Loading spinner. Vertical scroll bar. 10 pages.
I'm not teaching you how to use this app. I'm just demonstrating, right? So we're going to go down to the bottom, okay, and go to the security tab.
Tab bar. Wi-Fi. Security.
And just to give you an overview of what we have here.
Switch to away mode button.
So first of all,
security. You're in home mode.
It does have modes, which you can customize what each mode does. I like to be notified of everything either way because I don't have indoor cameras. For indoor cameras, I do use Canary, and what I will do is I'll do a separate video, a separate podcast rather, pretty soon with all of our smart home stuff, especially now that I have this doorbell working. We'll do an updated podcast on all the various smart home stuff that we have. But if I had indoor cameras, I would not want to be notified of everything in home mode all the time, right? But because they are outdoor cameras, I like to be notified anyway, so I don't really use the mode switching. But it is a nice feature to know that you can do that. You can customize each mode.
Your alerts off mode. Setting
Okay.
alerts off
Now-
mode. Recent activity collapsed. Button.
You can view recent activity there, and then here you go.
Cameras. Heading. List view. Driveway. 6:14 p.m. View live 24/7. Recording enabled. Button.
So there's our driveway camera.
Front doorbell. 6:14 p.m. View live 24/7. Recording enabled. Button.
And if I do that, I can hear the audio, so I don't have to wait for somebody to ring the doorbell. I can open this up now, and I can talk to somebody outside. I can hear the audio. I can see the timeline. If I open this.
Front doorbell. 3:48 p.m. Person. Double tap to play.
Now, I don't know that you can hear that. I don't hear any birds chirping or anything right now, but I can hear a little bit of wind. But if you...
Security. Back button. Front doorbell. Camera settings. Mute. Button. Timeline. August 10th. Filter. Button. Today. 8:11 p.m. Vehicle.
And we can see
Double
vehicles.
tap to play.
We can play that clip. I think we can share the clips. All of these types of things. And you heard that we can mute the audio. And we can filter so that the timeline shows us just what we want to see.
Microphone. Talk. Button.
We can talk to the person, and
Security.
we'll go back. Okay?
Security.
The other thing that we have then, if we keep going,
Cameras. Lit. Door lock. Front door.
So-
Front controls. Heading. Door lock device settings. Button.
there's our door lock. If we want to open that up, we can lock and unlock our door or make changes to the settings. I'll talk more about that in a moment.
Front door.
Okay?
Locked.
It tells us it's locked.
0%. Button. 71 degrees. Thermostat device settings. Button. Thermostat. Cool. Middle dot. Now 71 degrees. Button. Button.
And those are the up and down buttons for the thermostat, or we can double tap on where it says thermostat if we want to change the mode, like cool to heat, heat to cool, whatever. And then that's all I have. And that thermostat is a Honeywell. And so what happens there is that Honeywell is actually showing up in the Xfinity app because of account linking. I have linked it by providing the username and password for my Residio account or app or whatever to the Xfinity app, so I can control that thermostat in there. But that thermostat also works with Apple HomeKit and SIRI and so forth, and the Residio app itself and other smart speaker brands and so on as well. Smart assistants. So you have a lot of options with that thermostat, praise God, and that's just one way of the many ways of controlling it. Now I want to talk about the door lock a little bit. The door lock is a Kwikset. And that is KWIK, I believe, set. And it's the smart code 914 with Zigbee technology. If you're going to use Xfinity, you have to use Zigbee, not Z-Wave. And what happens here is that because we have one of the newer Xfinity gateways, colloquially known as the XB8, anything, I think, XB7 or maybe even XB6, but definitely XB7 or newer, has a Zigbee module in it. So you can pair this door lock and other Kwikset door locks directly with the Xfinity router. You don't need a separate hub. And the good part about this is that it's the Wi-Fi comes from the router, but then when you're paired to this, it's actually using Zigbee for that door lock. And they have a lot of different door locks that will work from Kwikset, including one called the Kwikset Convert, which is just the inside piece if you don't want to replace your existing outdoor part of your lock. But I actually like the 914 because it's a push-button lock, so I can operate it from the lock itself as well. It's not a touchscreen, it's actual physical buttons, and a lock button at the top, and then 2 rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So you can put in a 4-digit code. You can have multiple codes, and you can push the buttons to unlock it. However, you can also lock it and unlock it from the Xfinity app, and I have it set to notify me if the door has been unlocked for 5 minutes. I'll get a notification in the Xfinity app. I can go right in and lock it then if I want, and it will also automatically lock at 10:30 p.m. each night. And if it is already locked, it'll just send me a message in the Xfinity app, a notification saying your front door is locked and secure. So it lets you know either way, and it takes care of locking it for you. This is a very good lock, and I will say that Xfinity does support a few other common smart locks as well, such as the August, for example. But to get the color that we wanted, which is polished brass, we had a limited set of options. I've shared that before. And this is my favorite because it's very feature-rich, very inexpensive by comparison. Some smart locks are, $200 to $300 or even upper threes, and this was 100 and something, I do believe. And it does everything we need it to do, and it works very well, and it works well with the Xfinity setup. And we praise God that we're going to have years of success with this thing and with the doorbell and all of it. So to back up and sort of, paint a bigger picture here, we are Xfinity customers all the way. We have internet service through them. It is the complete service with the up to 1,200 megabits per second down and up to, I think, 200 megabits per second up. And that's their current offering there, which includes the spam, the virus removal and blocking and things of that nature. So you have all of that built in. It takes care of malicious threats. We have a VPN for when we travel outside of the home on other networks. It's Xfinity Advanced Protection on the go. You have advanced protection in the home from the viruses and so on. And as I say, you have a lot of great features with that. You have the gateway, which is just fantastic, and you get one X-Fi pod, which is basically a network extender, you might say, but the best one I've ever used. It's more like a mesh network, I suppose, really, and it really just one of those pods plus the router does the job for our whole home, praise God. And I don't need any other, third-party mesh system or anything. It just all works with this. And, of course, I've mentioned already that the gateway has a Zigbee module built into it, which is quite convenient as well. And you also have, as an Xfinity customer, access to thousands of Xfinity Wi-Fi networks that are public, sort of public, but they're for the customers mainly. And those are, outside. They're in restaurants and coffee shops. Basically, anybody who has Xfinity Internet does have the option of broadcasting this public hotspot sort of network. So that's Wi-Fi hotspots. That's really good. And, if you live in a Comcast area, that is worthwhile. Or if you travel to one, even when we go to Rehoboth Beach. Now, the Brighton Suites Hotel certainly has its own Wi-Fi, but there's a lot of Xfinity down there too. So it's very convenient for us. And, we now have in our area a couple of other options. We have a locally owned fixed wireless internet provider called Crow's Nest that offers speeds anywhere from 30 megabits per second all the way up to, I think their highest speed is like 800 or 900 megabits per second download speed. So they're very, very competitive. And we also now have both Verizon, the MyHub, 5G home internet, and T-Mobile 5G home internet in our area, which is relatively new. I just found out about that this summer, and I'm excited to see it, praise God. And as a tech person, I always make it my business to learn what's available. But for us, Xfinity is going to continue to be the choice that we go with. There's nothing that can compare to it or beat it speed-wise, and the price to speed ratio and what it's able to handle. At any one time, we've got tons of devices on our network, and this is able to handle them quite well, praise God. And then all of these other features like the self-protection as well. And of course, it doesn't stop there for us because we have internet, but we also have TV through Xfinity. We have the X1 service, which is the 185 plus channels with the all of the X1 features. X1 has a lot of on-demand content. It has TV Everywhere support. There is actually an Apple TV app for Xfinity Stream, which gives you all your same channels and DVR and on-demand content and everything. So we can use our Apple TV, which we often do, but we also have 2 X1 cable boxes, one primary and one wireless in another room. So we do use those as well, and you can pause live TV and all that. And I think we really have up to 300 hours of DVR recording with this. And then, of course, X1 has access to all the good apps too, like Max, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and so on. But we also use the Apple TV for all of those things. But included in our package with the 185 plus channels, we already get Max, as well as the live HBO channels. We get Showtime, MGM Plus, we get the movie channel, we get Netflix, we get, what am I missing here? I think I said Showtime. We Netflix, yeah. I said Max, and we get Peacock. Peacock Premium is part of that, and then we also subscribe to the Disney Bundle Duo Basic, and I use the Disney Plus app for all of that. So we get Disney Plus and Hulu in that app now. Praise God. We also get Paramount Plus included with our Walmart Plus subscription, so we have that. I mentioned Peacock. I mentioned all those with Max. And my son actually subscribes to Amazon Prime Video. So we have, quite a variety there, praise God. And I do subscribe to a couple Apple TV channels also, Tastemade. And is there a second one that I thought I was doing? Hallmark movie. I think I'm doing that one too. Now, all of these things then are usable both, on almost all of it's on the X1 box. The Apple TV channels, maybe not, but all of it's on the Apple TV as well. So you can watch anything you want on either platform. And we certainly do, praise God. And then we also have phone service through Xfinity Voice, their home phone service. I've actually got 2 lines through the Xfinity Voice. And, of course, there's a lot of great features there. Your call waiting, caller ID, 3-way calling, anonymous call rejection, basic call forwarding, selective call forwarding, advanced call forwarding, which lets you automatically ring multiple numbers at a time. Your voicemail, which you can check online and which you can get via email with text transcriptions and an audio recording attached. Caller ID on TV. A lot of great things here. And, of course, then the self-protection, which I've already described. The voice remote that's included with X1 allows you to also speak your requests, and you can say anything from, record this program. You can speak a channel like Nickelodeon. You can speak show names, movie names, actor and actress names, all sorts of things you're looking for, and you can even ask it to show you the doorbell or the camera, those sorts of things. Very powerful voice remote. Maybe we'll do a demo of that. And then we also have Xfinity Mobile. So all of our services, we have and they've got some new unlimited plans, very, very reasonably priced, really good pricing. I believe it's like $40 for the first line and $20 for each additional line. And it you can get higher plans than that, but that is the one that includes I don't know, it's like 30 gigabytes of premium data and unlimited, talk, text, and data, 5G, everything is in there. As I said, it's premium access. We have even the iPads are in there, and they get HD streaming and so on, and so that's Xfinity Mobile, and we're really happy with it, and it uses Verizon towers for the most part. But it also uses Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots, networks when you are in range of those. So it seamlessly switches you back and forth, and you're getting the best experience at the time. And so we are very happy with all of these services. And, sometimes you think about this and you read about all the cord cutting and stuff, and you say, should I really have done my doorbell and stuff through Xfinity? But honestly, I am really happy with them. I really am happy with the offerings. I really am happy with the prices. I know prices go up. That's just a natural part of life, I think. But Look, we're getting a lot of value. We're getting a lot of services. They're very good, very good customer service, very friendly and knowledgeable, and just overall a great experience. And so we're happy with them and have no plans to go anywhere else. And I've done a separate recording podcast on basically, in so many words, why I don't really think it's such a guarantee that the era of cable TV is over yet. I think there are obviously going to be continued changes. There are going to be fluctuations, and there may even be continued losses in subscriber numbers for a while. But I think that I don't think it's quite that simple. I don't think it's quite there yet. But again, I'm also excited to report, praise God, that we do have some other options, especially because not everywhere in our county can get Comcast, because you maybe live in too rural of an area to even get Xfinity, and you're outside of that. And then what do? So then before your only option was something like Starlink, which is certainly an option. But now there might be others, just depending on what's out there. Now, as I said, I'm very excited to see that we have 3 other viable options in the area. And we really have Brightspeed, which is a DSL provider, but I just don't think I see that as a very future-proof option, given the fact that they're only serving most customers with 10 megabits per second. There are a few areas where the phone lines are a bit closer to the central office, where maybe they're giving a bit more speeds than that. But Brightspeed claims that they're trying to bring fiber to all these areas. I will believe it when I see it, because fiber is extremely expensive. And it seems as though people are getting more into the wireless internet options, like the Crow's Nest fixed wireless, and of course the T-Mobile and Verizon 5G home internet, and so on. So, time will tell, I suppose, with all of those things. But I do have a close friend who switched to Verizon 5G home from the Brightspeed internet, and went from 10 megabits per second to sometimes up to 300 megabits per second he's getting. There are some things that I see as potential concerns with that kind of internet. And as I said, that's one of the reasons why we are very, very happy to stay with Comcast, because some of the reviews and even experiences that coworkers and so forth have shared lend you to understand that it can fluctuate with this wireless stuff, depending on a lot of factors and how many devices you've got and so on. So, but again, we are thrilled that all of this is set up and working. Praise God. The doorbell was the latest addition, and really rounds out the package of Xfinity services for us. Now, there will always be continuing things that I'd like to do to even enhance things further, but we're going to definitely do an updated smart home tour episode very soon. So stay tuned for that. All right, so I want to thank you for joining us today. God bless you, and we will see you next time.
6:30 News. TEF 6 Saturday, 6:32 p.m. Voice memos. Fast gun.